The story begins with a young girl named Coco living in the countryside with her mother, who is a tailor. Coco says that athletes are not born athletes, and the same goes for astronauts and pop stars, and says no one knows what they will become until they grow up. As she says this, she wonders if it is the same for witches and approaches a nearby pond with a basket of clothes in her hand. She then washes the clothes in the pond while enjoying the nature around her and notices a deer standing nearby. After washing, she apologizes to the deer for creating a mess, but assures it that the pond will restore itself as it has been enchanted by magic. As soon as she gets out, a bright light appears in the pond and restores it to normal. After that, Coco gathers the clothes and says that she never gets tired of seeing this, expressing her love for magic, and decides to return home. On her way, she thinks about all the blessings that magic has brought to the world, but does not know how it works. She then mentions that the only ones who can cast spells are witches, while the other ordinary people can never use them. After getting home, she sits on the roof with a book in her hand, sulking and wishing that she had been born a witch as well. Soon, she notices the white sheets next to her moving with the wind, so she holds one of the sheets and tells it to turn into a flying cloak with magic. To her surprise, the wind blows hard and takes one of the sheets off the wire. Seeing this, Coco rushes after it and barely manages to save it from flying away. As she catches the sheet, she sees a Pegasus carriage landing near her house and gets excited, as this is her first time seeing one in real life. She quickly puts the sheet back on the wire and rushes downstairs, calling for her mother to share the news. But as soon as she opens the door, it bumps into a man who looks like Gojo from Temu. She apologizes to the man for hitting him, but he laughs it off by saying it was his fault for standing too close to the door in the first place. After that, Coco turns around and sees that there are already a lot of ladies there and thinks that they must be the ones who came on the Pegasus carriage, and the man tells her that he is not with them. As her mother is busy with the customers, the man offers to come later, but she says it's fine and asks him what he was looking for. The man says that he was looking for a smoke-colored cloth, and Coco offers to cut the cloth for him. At first, the man feels iffy, but her mother assures him that he is in good hands. At the same time, Coco walks up to her mother and asks for her permission to go see the Pegasus carriage outside, and promises to stop talking about becoming a witch all the time. At first, her mother feels reluctant, but eventually agrees, saying she can do it if she finishes early. Coco then takes the man to the workshop, and the man hands her a piece of paper with the measurements of his order. After that, Coco picks out his clothes and starts cutting them down cleanly as per his measurements. The man watches all of this very closely, and seeing that Coco is very skillful, he compliments her for her focus and steady hands, saying he had no idea that this village had such a skilled tailor, even saying her work is real magic. Hearing all of this, Coco gets flustered and starts to ramble on about how much she loves magic and how precious it is to her, and after realizing what she had said, she gets flustered again and hides her face. Hearing this, the man smiles, says that she must truly love magic and asks her about it. Coco tells the man a story about when she was little, her mother had taken her to a festival in the castle. As she was playing at the festival, she started following a butterfly, which led her to a lady who was wearing a mask. The lady asked Coco if she wanted to buy a magic storybook. Hearing this, little Coco gets confused and asks the lady about magic, who explains it by casting a spell, making the ground under her feet glow brightly with each step. Seeing this, Coco falls in love with magic instantly and buys the magic book and a wand from the witch. After this, Coco runs to her mother, showing her the goods she had bought from the witch. Seeing Coco this happy makes her mother happy as well, and they decided to leave for home as it was getting dark. Coco tells her mother that she wants to become a witch when she grows up, but her mother gives her a reality check that only people born with the power can use magic. On their way home, Coco tells her mother that the ground shines whenever she takes a step, so her mother says that if it keeps shining all the way home, she can become a witch. But as they leave the castle, the shining stops, and Coco becomes teary-eyed. Remembering her sadness from that time, she begins to sob as she tells the story to the man, telling him that it is a dream she can't let go of. As the man tries to inquire a bit more, a loud noise suddenly interrupts the conversation, and everyone rushes out of the house and sees that some boys have broken the carriage while playing under it. Coco's mother rushes forward and apologizes to the ladies on behalf of the boys. Meanwhile, the man inspects the carriage and sees no major damage and claims that he may be able to fix it. He then introduces himself as a witch named Qifrey, Seeing this, Coco's eyes light up, and the ladies are also happy as the man assures them it was a simple task. The ladies thank the witch, who is more than happy to help. After this, he asks to work in private, as this was not the ideal work environment for him, and Coco wastes no breath and offers him to use the workshop, seeing that he was an honest and good witch. Coco thinks that this was the chance she had been waiting for all her life to finally witness the moment a spell is cast. But to her disappointment, Qifrey tells her that he will do the magic privately and says to her not to allow anyone to enter the workshop under any circumstances, and Coco sits outside the door of the workshop, wondering why no one is allowed to see the process. As she is sulking, she sees the same boys from earlier sneaking up to the window of the workshop to see the magic, and she tries to stop them by climbing onto the roof herself, but the boys ignore her warnings. As she is trying to stop the boys, curiosity gets the best of her, and instead of stopping them, she decides to open the window herself, and sees that it is covered with blinds inside the house, and both the boys, seeing this, leave disappointed. As she is sitting on the roof, a strong gust of wind blows one of the sheets onto her, and she goes to put it back on the wire. After this, she comes down and grabs her book, and is tempted to see the witch do the magic through the cracks of a closed window. At first, she tries to stop herself, but eventually she gives in to her desires and decides to see through the cracks, and sees Qifrey drawing some symbols on the base of the carriage with a special pen. She notices that he is drawing magic with his pen and figures out that witches don't cast magic, they draw it, and realizes that the wand she received from the witch that day was actually a pen. Seeing Qifrey finish his work, she rushes to the workshop door to avoid suspicion, and after that Coco and her mother bid the customers farewell, and Coco's mother takes a sigh of relief, as she thought she might leave home and go away with Qifrey, as she had been in love with magic since she was a child. Coco's mother then expresses her grief of losing Coco's father to an illness, and says that she would have collapsed if Coco had left her too. Hearing this, Coco hugs her mother and tells her that it will never happen, and she would never leave her alone. Hearing this brings a smile to her mother as they both embrace each other and return home. Later that night, they both have dinner together before going to bed. After having their meal, Coco's mom tries to tell her something, but decides to go to bed without doing it. On the other hand, Coco decides to test her theory from earlier, as soon as she enters her room, and opens the wand, which turns out to be a pen just like Qifrey had, and starts drawing symbols from the magic book using the ink on the back of the pen. After she completes the first drawing, she gets excited, but seeing it do nothing, she gets sad, and puts her head on the table with her pen over the paper. A few moments later, we see that Coco has not completed the circle, and her pen is right above the very spot with a drop of ink about to fall on the drawing. As soon as it falls, the magic circle gets completed, and with a light, the spell activates, showing small fireworks. Seeing this, her eyes light up, and she goes crazy, jumping up and down as she has finally used magic, but she does not stop there, and then goes on to draw a lot of magic circles. Meanwhile, far away, Qifrey is having trouble sleeping as he cannot stop himself from thinking about Coco's story of the magic book. Suddenly, he realizes something and gets up. While Coco is having the time of her life, she starts to get the hang of it through experimenting. She has now learned that bigger circles are more powerful than smaller ones, and that neatly drawn ones last longer than sloppy ones. She thinks that it is difficult to draw big ones neatly, but Qifrey made them look easy, and she decides to trace the circles from the book. As she completes a circle, suddenly Qifrey arrives in her room and flies her out of the house. But he is too late, as the spell had already been activated. He asks Coco what she has drawn, but she does not know and tells him that she simply traced one from the book. Both of them look down and see the crystal magic covering the whole house and going for Coco's mother, who was near the house. Coco shouts to her mother to flee, but it is too late, as she is transformed into a crystal in an instant. Seeing this, Coco is in disbelief and can do nothing but call for her mother, and manages to free herself from Qifrey and falls down, but he catches her just in time. Helpless, she cries for her mother, and as the spell is about to consume Coco too, Qifrey grabs her and leaps into the air. The poor girl apologizes to him, as she did not know this would happen. So he reveals to her that magic was kept a secret all this time to prevent tragedies like this. He then elaborates that a person needs only a special link and a set of casting seals to use magic, and concealing this is the #1 rule for witches, and tells her that Coco must now have her memory erased, as she knows the truth, but she convinces him that she may not know what spell she used, but she remembers all the drawings by heart, and Qifrey realizes if he erases her memory he won't be able to catch the witch who gave Coco the magic book. Seeing that he has no other choice, he decides to help her and tells her that she is going to be a witch. After some time, Coco wakes up as she feels the wind blowing on her face and sees Qifrey, who asks her if she is okay and tells her he hailed a Pegasus carriage for them. As Coco is still trying to process what is happening, Qifrey assures her that everything is going to be okay and points outside to a building and tells her that it is his atelier and this is going to be her school where she is gonna learn magic. After landing, as they are walking, Qifrey tells Coco that he has planted some guard briar seeds that will grow in no time and act as a barrier around Coco's house, as it was crystallized by a forbidden spell and it will keep other people away. As he is explaining the situation to the poor girl, he turns around and notices Coco is in tears and asks her what happened, to which she replies that she had promised her mom that she would not leave her alone, but now she has broken her promise. Qifrey consoles her by saying that none of it was her fault, as she did not know what she was doing, and takes her inside the atelier and tells her to let out all her tears and then wash her face, as he activates a magic tool and tells her that this is going to be her home from today. Coco's eyes light up as she holds the magic tool, and she asks Qifrey what it is, who tells her that it was simply water. But Coco still has no clue after that explanation, and Qifrey suddenly remembers to get her a new set of clothes and goes upstairs without teaching her how to use the tool. She then expresses her fear of touching magic that she does not understand. As she is feeling down, she is greeted by a girl named Tetia, who offers to teach her about the magic tool, explaining to her that tool is called a vapor bubble, which pulls the water from the moisture in the air. The girl takes the tool from Coco and asks her to hold out her hand and tilts the tool, causing the water to pour in Coco's hand, who is amazed to see such a tool and thanks the girl, but the girl thanks her in response, confusing Coco. The girl then tells Coco that she loves being told thank you, so she thanks her for thanking her. Both thank each other back and forth, when their conversation is interrupted by another girl named Riche, who advises Coco to ignore the girl as she will stop if you don't respond to her. Coco then notices Riche holding a pen and ink, and asks them if they are witches. Tetia answers that they are apprentices of Master Qifrey, and asks Coco if she is a student as well. But the girls soon find out that Coco is the girl from the recent rumors about an outsider who has used forbidden magic, and was allowed to become an apprentice with their memories intact, and become scared. Just then, Qifrey arrives with a new set of clothes and tells the girls to go to their study rooms after helping with the morning chores. After that, he gives Coco the new clothes and tells her that this is the uniform his students wear. After she gets changed into the uniform, Qifrey tells her that it fits her perfectly and tells her the history of magic. He says that long ago magic was not something special, and all you needed was a combination of known patterns and specially made ink to activate it. It was a familiar tool that anyone could use, but it caused conflict time and time again. He then elaborates that when humans are given the power to do anything, anything is what they will do, which led to the creation of many horrific spells. But a few sorcerers who still had a conscience at that time turned away from the conflict and unified as witches, and took the memories of magic away from the people, entrusting the secret only to the disciples that sworn to protect it. He then tells Coco that this was the day of the pact, and ever since then, people have been made to believe that magic is a power only a few chosen can wield, concluding the story by saying that if the people found out the truth, the world would collapse into lawlessness once again. Qifrey tells her that everyone has been very careful to keep this a secret, and this was the reason other witches started talking about Coco when they heard about the incident. He then apologizes to Coco for earlier, but Coco says that this is something she brought upon herself, and asks him about forbidden magic, to which he replies that this was the magic used for hurting others, and was drawn during the age of conflict, and was banned when the day of the pact came. Hearing this, Coco hugs Qifrey and asks him to teach her all about the forbidden magic, as she will be too scared to do anything if she doesn't know what it is. He then tells Coco that this is where he tells his students not to rush things, but seeing that she is desperate, he decides to teach her anyway. After this, both of them go downstairs towards a unique window, and he tells her about the forbidden spells, and says that there are countless of them, but if you boil them down, they become very simple, and goes on by saying that any magic cast on the human body is prohibited. That includes transformation, age alteration, teleportation, without conveyances, as well as manipulation of thoughts or emotion, the harming of others, and even healing them. But there is a single exception among them, which is the erasing of memories. He then explains that most spells are cast on tools like lamps or carriages, and on windows like this, and he then changes the wheels around the window. A strange triangle appears, and the scenery outside changes. Coco is shocked when she sees a lake from the window, from which she just saw some hills earlier, and Qifrey explains to her that this is called a windowway, and it connects the two round windows with the same pattern. He then asks Coco if she sees the building from the window, and tells her that this is the Tower of Tomes, and to preserve all knowledge, all the books related to magic are duplicated there the moment they are written. In that instant Coco realizes the picture book she had would also be there, and asks Qifrey to go there right away, but he stops her, and just then they see a giant serpent-like monster in the lake, which splashes a ton of water towards them. After this, Qifrey changes the pattern on the window, which again changes the scenery outside. He then tells Coco that this was the Librarian's trial, and the Tower of Tomes is protected by 4 librarians, and only the witches who overcome it are allowed to enter, so Coco needs to study if she wants to get in. He then tells her that it made him very happy when he saw how eager Coco was to learn, and assures her that it is natural to fear what we don't know, but the spells that are not forbidden are the ones that bring happiness to their lives. After this, petals start flying in from the window, creating a beautiful scenery, and he tells her that he feels that Coco should learn a gentler spell first, and Coco decides to accept this with a big smile on her face. In the evening, Qifrey takes Coco to her new room and knocks on the door. Seeing no one answer, he wonders if Agat is out and tells her that she is going to be her roommate from now on. After entering the room, he tells her that they will have a common workspace, but she will have her own bed. He then asks her to take some rest and tells her that he has some things to take care of and tells her to call him if she needs anything. After leaving her in her room, Qifrey calls someone and thanks them for allowing him to take Coco as an apprentice, and reports that he has found nothing about the picture book as of yet, as the girl is overwhelmed right now. Back in the room, Coco meets Agat while checking her stuff out. Coco tries to introduce herself, but Agat tells her that she already knows that she is the outsider from the rumors and that she would be joining them as a new peer. She then tells her that she is sorry for what happened to Coco's mother, but at the same time blames Coco for it, saying her mother will never return to being a human. In response, Coco protests that she is here to save her mother by becoming a witch, but Agat replies that they have been drawing magic circles their whole lives until their fingertips turned black, and have worked very hard to pass the tests, and only then were allowed to become apprentices, and that Coco is just an ordinary girl who knows nothing, and that there is no way she can become a witch. Hearing this, Coco replies that she already has drawn magic spells, and she won't know until she tries, so Agat asks her to prove herself as the tests start tomorrow. Suddenly, their conversation is interrupted by Tetia and Riche, who come to call them for dinner because today is Coco's welcome party. But to their disappointment, they see the usual meal, and Qifrey tells them that they will have the welcome party some other time, as it was all too sudden. He then asks her where Agat is, and she replies that she will be eating in her room as usual, and he says that she should join them for dinner once in a while. Then he asks Coco to do the honors and start the meal, which is very delicious, and Qifrey says that it is all thanks to the local goods. The next day, as Coco is puzzled about what to do, she finds Qifrey standing behind her, and he asks her what she needs to know. He then tells her there are a lot of things that books don't teach us when it comes to magic, and advises her that she would learn more about magic from experimenting, and gives her the components to draw magic. Immediately, Coco becomes excited and says that the components look very cool, and after calming down a bit, she realizes that she is still a bit scared of touching the pen, but then remembers that she is going to save her mother, no matter what, and tells Qifrey that she is looking forward to the lessons. After reading a bit of the books, Coco falls down as it is too hard, and Qifrey asks if she wants a break, but she says she is fine. He then asks her to explain what she has learned just now, and she answers by saying a magic spell is composed of 3 elements, with the first one, the sigil that is drawn in the center, and is surrounded by lines that are called signs, and the outer circle is called the ring. The types of sigils are fire, water, light, and wind, and they determine what kind of spell it becomes. The signs determine what form the magic takes as well as its size and direction, and lastly, the outer circle that locks the seal in place and activates the spell. She then tells him that she can barely memorize these, but Qifrey encourages her as she was able to explain them to him. Then she decides to draw the magic spell, but decides to throw it away as all the lines were wobbly and messy. Qifrey takes the paper and says that it is supposed to be like this, as she is just learning at this stage. He then analyzes the spell and points out that the circle was incomplete, so the spell did not activate. He then reassures her that it is natural to have unsteady hands when you are learning to use a new tool and tells her that she will get used to it in no time. He then tells her to connect the lines and activate the spell. As the spell activates, water emerges and splashes onto Agat, who looks at her annoyed. Coco begins to apologize to her, saying it was an accident. Seeing this, Qifrey asks Coco to calm down and also asks Agat if she is okay, who says that she is not bothered by it at all. After this, she asks to see the magic circle and finds the mistake immediately. She then explains to Coco that due to one sign being longer, it amplified the pressure in one direction and caused the water to gush out. Qifrey praises her for her observation and decides to leave Coco in her care for the next 2 or 3 days, as he will be visiting the Great Hall. Before leaving, he tells Coco that she can learn a lot from her peers and tells her to watch Agat closely and try to learn from her. After Wifey leaves, Coco apologizes again to her roommate, who says she was not bothered by it, so she doesn't need to apologize again and again. She then reminds Coco about what she had said to her to prove herself, and tells her that her test starts now. Meanwhile, deep in the ocean, beneath a raging storm, stands a solitary rock island surrounded by wind and waves. Master Qifrey walks through the door and calmly advances toward an old-looking tower, where he casually jumps down the thousands of narrow steps leading deep underground. He lands gracefully thanks to a small puff of controlled air beneath his feet, but someone playfully hooks him with a staff and makes him stumble, joking that stairs are meant to be used properly. Elira laughs and says she is glad to see the Great Hall's problem child returning to the seabed after so long. After that, she helps Qifrey back to his feet and mentions she heard about the new mischievous little apprentice he recently took in. He is surprised at how fast word travels through the halls, but he freezes when she remarks that the girl who used forbidden magic might be his best lead to the Brimmed Caps, the target he has been chasing for a very long time. Qifrey firmly makes it clear he does not see her that way at all, and she is not even an apprentice yet, since she has not passed the test. The Dada range where it takes place is especially dangerous this time of the year, so to send an amateur there now would practically be a death sentence. Back at the atelier, Agat prepares to send Coco off to the Dada range for her trial. Coco feels nervous because she barely knows how to use magic, but Agat replies that she managed it at just 10 years old, so it should be simple enough. The first trial is called the Consent of the Crown, where Coco must reach the top of the Dada range and pick the diadem flower using only 3 magic tools and her own power. Agat hands her a guiding orb and a magical water bottle, since those are the only tools she can use, then opens the door and tells her to try her best. Coco shyly asks if she can also borrow the magic boots that she and Master Qifrey wear, since they are magical too. She nervously fidgets with her fingers and keeps pestering Agat until the girl is so annoyed she pulls off her boots and shoves Coco along with the shoes through the open door. Right after sending her in, Agat casually informs her that she only has one chance, meaning she will be expelled from the atelier and never become an apprentice if she fails this. The magic door shuts tight behind her, and Coco is terrified when she hears bushes rustling nearby. Still, she gathers her courage and slowly figures out how to properly use the guiding orb. Excited that she understands it, she rushes into the forest, only to trip over a small twig and fall flat on her face. She continues walking through the eerie forest filled with strange sounds and hidden surprises while reassuring herself that she can do this if 10-year-old Agat once did. At last, she reaches the edge of the forest, where she notices massive green spheres floating up into the giant sky above. When she sees the guiding orb, it points upward, which means she has to make her way all the way up there. This realization brings her mood down for a moment, but then she remembers that she has flying shoes and immediately cheers up. However, when she tries to activate them, nothing happens. Coco then sits down and carefully inspects the casting seal, only to realize that it is split between both feet, meaning she has to align them perfectly. She stands up again and gives it another try, managing to lift herself slightly off the ground. As expected for someone new, she quickly loses balance and falls back down. Even so, the thrill of flying is too strong for her to give up, so she gets back on her feet. She keeps trying again and again, slowly working toward getting the hang of it. Meanwhile, back at the Great Hall, Master Qifrey is busy with his work as he hands over an application to be signed by the clerk witches there. Alira casually suggests that if he moved to the Great Hall, he would not have to travel all the way just to deal with small tasks like this. She reminds him that he could even bring his apprentices along. Qifrey, however, does not seem interested in the idea at all. Alira then teases him about his dislike for the Great Hall and tells him to keep an eye on his students, pointing out that they can easily get into trouble when no adults are around. Back in the Dada range, Coco finally learns how to balance herself and decides to go even higher this time. Just as she is about to land on the floating surface, she nearly slips but somehow saves herself by grabbing onto a vine. Her happiness does not last long though, as she suddenly runs into a strange noodle-like fluffy creature, and that scares the crap out of her, making her lose control and fall. The girl somehow manages to steady herself at the last second and avoids a hard impact before safely dropping into the river. She recognizes the noodle-like creature as a brush buddy, something she has never actually seen in person before. Coco soaks her shoes and starts cleaning them, but as she rubs them with a cloth, the casting seal comes off, which immediately makes her panic. She starts freaking out and quickly thinks about remaking it with ink, but when she looks for it, she realizes the ink has also been soaked in water. As the sun starts setting, the poor girl begins to wonder if her witch journey has come to an end before it could even begin. Meanwhile, back at Qifrey's place, Tetia asks Agat about Coco since it is time for dinner. Agat tells the princess that the newbie has gone to the Dada range for her test. Hearing this, Tetia panics and says that she just arrived at the atelier and should not have gone to take the test so soon. When she asks Agat why she did not stop her, the girl responds with clear jealousy, pointing out that all of them had to pass the test before being allowed there. Agat makes it clear that the newbie has no right to become an apprentice if she cannot even pass something this simple. She then adds that she hates people who cannot do what she can, revealing her deep-rooted resentment toward outsiders. Agat tells Tetia not to worry because Coco will be back very soon, after she fails miserably, since the Dada range is at its highest point this season. Even her borrowed sylph shoes will not help her much, and someone who cannot recognize that does not deserve to become an apprentice. Tetia grumbles and flops her giant head onto the dinner table, saying she feels too sad to eat anything at all. For a second, Richa finally shows concern, not for Coco, but she is worried that her plate is empty and gets up for another serving. Tetia feels like she is the only one who truly cares, but Richa responds that they cannot do anything until their master finally returns. On the other side, Coco is stuck at the bottom until night falls. She fails to fly after many tries because the ink keeps spreading across the damp boots. Suddenly, she gets the idea of drawing the spell directly on her dry feet, but she quickly scraps it because that is forbidden. She lies down in disappointment and starts thinking Agat was right about her, and only those born with talent can truly become witches. Coco thinks they are better than her because they have been drawing spells since they were very little. But then she remembers the sweet memories of her mother teaching her how to cut cloth perfectly straight, and she practiced so much that even the master she admires called her craftsmanship real magic. With her confidence restored, she quickly returns from the forest after picking up a few stones. She cuts up part of her cape, dips the stones into ink, mixes it with water to dilute the ink, and carefully begins drawing the magic circle. Master Qifrey once told her it is fine to be bad with a tool at first, so her solution now is to use one she has already mastered well. Her delicate hands move on their own like magic, and the night passes before she even notices. In the morning, Brush Buddy wakes up just as Coco finally finishes tying her cape like a boat sail, which now has a giant version of the flying spell drawn on it. She admits the sigils look a little wobbly in some places, and Master Qifrey warned her they must stay balanced or the spell's power could pull too hard in one direction. She proudly reveals her strategy is to make one line slightly longer on purpose, just to see what will happen. She asks the Brush Buddy if she wants to tag along, and after getting its approval, she completes the circle. She gets excited as the spell starts working, but that excitement does not last long because the ride quickly turns into a death tour. She starts wondering if she got the spell wrong. The boat ends up crashing, leaving only the sail behind. Somehow, Coco manages to survive once again, and what comes out of the cape turns into the real cloak of flight she always wished for. As she rises higher into the air, she thinks about her mother and lets out a few tears, but then she quickly focuses again on finding the diadem herb, believing it must be even higher up. She uses the guiding orb and locates the herb in no time, but when she tries to grab it mid-flight, she misses. It takes her an infinite number of attempts before she finally manages to catch it, and during those attempts, she barely avoids crashing into a floating island. Meanwhile, Master Qifrey has just returned and learns about the situation. He becomes worried, hoping the girl is still safe, and quickly prepares to go after her. Tetia argues that Coco would fail if he interferes, but their master insists that it was too early for her to take the test, and that she does not have the proper fundamentals of magic yet, especially since she has not been practicing her whole life like the others. However, just as Qifrey opens a portal to the range, he sees Coco returning with the herb. Princess Tetia rushes over to hug her and tells her that she had been really worried about her. Coco runs over to Agat with the herb in her hands, trying to prove that she truly belongs there, but the girl simply turns away and walks off without saying a single word. Master Qifrey gently scolds her for heading into a place like that without any proper preparation and warns her about the serious consequences that could have followed. She then tells Coco that she is already her apprentice and hands her a new witch attire, which serves as proof that she is now a witch and must carry the responsibilities that come with it. Meanwhile, somewhere in the data range, a mysterious person named Iguin speaks to himself, noting that the seed of something has finally begun to sprout. The next day, Master Qifrey teaches Coco about the primary tetrad, which forms the backbone of magic. He explains the sigils of water, earth, levitation, and fire. He tells her that while some, like water, are used to nourish life, others, like fire, are meant to act as both sword and shield. After explaining all this, he leaves her to try them out on her own, while Tesha sits beside her, making weird noises. Coco attempts to use a pyriball spell, but ends up creating a small flame, which goes out of control. Tesha reacts quickly and puts out the fire, soaking the girl in the process as part of stopping it. Coco thanks her for that, and when Tesha asks what she was trying to do, the girl explains that she was drawing to practice her levitation magic. Master Qifrey walks over and dries her with a towel, while teaching her that the sigil of fire can be dangerous, so she must be careful to maintain the right size and balance. Tesha then shows off by levitating herself up and asks Coco why she is still practicing levitation when she should have already learned it back at the data range. Coco replies that she ended up destroying the Slife shoes lent to her by Agat, which is why she is practicing so she can fix them before returning them. Apparently, she has fixed everything except for the drawing, and every time she tries that part, her lines come out wobbly and uneven. Her master picks up her pen and suggests that it might not be the right one for her. He explains that different people work better with tools of different weights and grips and offers to let her choose a pen that suits her. Princess Tesha gets excited at the idea of going on a trip to the magic stationers, and even Coco lights up with excitement. Soon, the whole group is seen flying toward the place, with Coco and Agat being carried by their master. Qifrey shows Coco the township of the Marshwoods from above, along with a witch island built around it before they finally arrive at their destination. Coco gets excited seeing so many witches around, while her master explains that the witches originally built this island to support a watchtower. Over time, more witches gathered there and turned it into a full atelier. While Qifrey continues explaining, Tesha points out that Coco is too absorbed in her surroundings to even listen, while Agat says she has better things to do than act like a tour guide and leaves, mentioning that she has shops to visit. After she leaves, Master Qifrey asks Coco how things have been between her and Agat, and the girl expresses that she wants to get closer to her. Coco is then guided around the place until she notices a suspicious dark alley and feels drawn toward it, but Tesha calls her to hurry up, and she walks away. They soon arrive at the magic stationers called the Starry Sword. Coco opens the door and sees a majestic white tree growing right in the middle of the shop. An old wizard walks down and looks surprised to see the little witch so impressed by a mere silver wood tree, like a complete novice. Master Qifrey explains that she is his new apprentice, Coco. The grandpa wizard is very happy to finally meet the apprentice he has heard so much about. He apologizes to Coco and starts laughing like a goofy old man, while Tesha tells her he is the owner of the magic stationers, Master Nulnoa of the Starry Sword. Master Nulnoa proudly shares that everything in the shop, from the pens to the ink, was carefully crafted by him and his grandson, Tarta. He invites Coco to see what he has to offer, so she excitedly climbs up the stairs to the top of the shop, where she sees a boy carefully carving out magic pens. The girls quietly look around the shop while Master Nulnoa slices off a black tree branch, lights a fire, and places it inside. The girls are stunned to see the clear water slowly turn black, and Master Nolnoa explains that when dead branches turn black, you can boil them in water and drain out the excess, leaving behind pure black conjuring ink. Master Qifrey adds that normal ink is made from soot of a normal tree, but conjuring ink is quite literally the blood of a silver wood tree, so it is incredibly important for all witches. That reminds Tesha of an eerie ancient legend that says it all began when a silver wood tree fell deeply for a witch and offered its branches and blood in love, which became her ink and wand. Coco gets very excited when she hears him say wand, so Master Nolno gently asks her if she wishes to buy one. She says yes, so Master Nolnoa picks out a small glass vessel, carefully pours in some ink, and gives it to her, telling her she will definitely find the wand that is right for her. After that, she excitedly runs down the stairs together with Tesha when she suddenly sees a suspicious figure quietly staring at her through the window. She rushes outside to see who it is and quickly chases after the figure. Tesha starts to panic about what they should do, and the two also quickly run after her. Coco bumps into Agot mid-chase, and Tesha and Riche quickly make her join them on the run. The mysterious figure leads Coco down several narrow alleyways that look like a maze. Meanwhile, the others yell at her to stop and come back. Suddenly, they all get shrouded in a strange, thick mist and disappear, leaving Brush Buddy all alone. Agot grabs Coco's arm in an attempt to stop her and quickly asks where she is running off to. Coco explains that she just saw the person who gave her the forbidden magic book, but when she looks ahead again, there is no one there. Agot says it was a waste of time, while Tesha stays positive and says that at least they stayed together and did not get separated. Just then, Riche points out that the scenery around them feels completely different, and that the Brush Buddy is not there, which makes it clear that something is off. Agot agrees and steps back a little before inspecting the ground and the walls, pointing out that they are made of a white stone which she is sure does not exist in Callan, where they were just moments ago. When Tesha hears that they are no longer in Callan, she starts arguing that they never passed through a magic gate or used any teleportation, and quickly flies up to check from above. Agot suggests that they might have been teleported without even realizing it, while Coco comments nervously that such spells are not allowed. Riche states that this clearly means forbidden magic was used, and as Tesha lands back down, she starts panicking and runs around, saying they need to get out of here immediately. Agot asks her what she saw, and Tesha replies that it is not about what they saw, but that something has already seen them. Just then, a dragon appears, and it becomes clear that a mysterious figure is behind all of this. Meanwhile, back at the shop, Qifrey is searching for his apprentices and walks up to Nolnoa, asking if he has seen them. Nolnoa says that he assumed the girls got bored and went out for a walk, but this explanation feels off to Qifrey since the store is the best place around. He thinks it through and realizes that his girls are not the type to leave without even thanking, which starts to worry him about where they might have gone. Tarta then shows up and tells Qifrey that he saw them running after a strangely dressed witch who was wearing a mask shaped like an eyeball. Hearing this makes Master Qifrey anxious. Meanwhile, the girls freeze after seeing the dragon, but Agot quickly comes up with a plan and tells them to maintain eye contact while slowly stepping back. She instructs them to keep doing this until she gives a signal, and then they will run. Everyone follows her lead, and then suddenly starts running with the dragon chasing right behind them. Agot quickly casts a fire spell as the dragon gets closer, while shouting at the others to keep moving. On the way, Coco praises the spell and asks if it was a fire spell. Agot explains that she combined the power of fire and wind. Coco asks if she drew it that quickly, but Agot denies it. She then shows her palm and explains that they draw their spells in advance there, leaving the ring open and closing it only when they need to use it. While Coco is amazed, Agot reminds her that they are still in danger. Suddenly, the four of them reach a dead end. Tesha gets scared and drops to the ground, but Agot calms her down and tells her that they are witch apprentices and will find a way out of this. She suggests that she will make a wall breaker spell, while Riche and Tesha distract the dragon. Her solid plan calms everyone down, but Coco feels a tightness in her chest because she saw it clearly in Tesha's eyes. Her friend secretly blames all of this on her, and it hurts Coco more because she knows she has the right to feel that way. Tesha draws a small levitation sigil on a piece of paper and takes off her robe, after which she puts the sigil inside to make the robe fly away and act as bait to distract the dragon. Her spell gives everyone hope, And while Coco watches her magic in amazement, she notices a magic seal drawn on a tower in the distance. She quickly grabs Agat to tell her about it, but she ruins her spell and ticks her off. Agat gets angry and yells that it is common sense not to disturb someone in the middle of drawing. When Coco says it was an accident, Agat rants that everything she does is an accident, from freezing her mom in ice to getting them stuck in this situation. In the end, it is still her mistake, so she should stop messing everything up. Tesha hesitantly asks what they should do now, and Agat worries they don't have time to try again. However, Riche says it's alright since she was drawing this whole time. Her spell is complete and makes a perfect hole in the wall. With that, Agat compliments her on the good work and suggests they put the dead end behind them. She looks at Coco and coldly admits that her comment was not only about the maze. Tesha feels bad for her, but she enters the hole when Agat calls her and leaves Coco behind. Seeing that, Coco hopelessly steps forward and grabs her witch hat, wondering what Master Qifrey would tell her to do. Back at the stationer's shop, Master Qifrey jumps down from the roof after seeing no sign of the girls in the city. He regrets that he never expected the Brimmed Caps to reach out to Coco first. Tarta mentions he saw the masked witch Coco run after. The Brimmed Caps are an evil organization of witches who use forbidden magic and hide their faces behind masks. While Qifrey knows Coco would be a clue to help him find them, he never expected they would directly come to her. He asks Tarta if he can give any more clues, but the boy says sorry because he doesn't remember. Just then, Brush Buddy tugs on Qifrey's robe and points him to the place where Coco and the others disappeared. He follows after as fast as he can, praying everyone is safe until he arrives. Meanwhile, on the other side, the dragon keeps chasing Coco's cloak, while she and the girls run as fast as they can. Just then, they find the hole in the wall where they started and realize they have been going in circles again, but Agat says they should at least find a safe hiding place. Soon, they take refuge inside a building far away from the dragon, where Coco sees Tesha hunched over, feeling overwhelmed and scared out of her life. She slowly approaches the girl to tell her she dropped her hat earlier and gently asks if she is fine. But she already knows Tesha is not and apologizes that it is her mistake they are all stuck here. Things get awkward for a moment, so Coco suddenly brightens up and offers her cloak and some warm snuggles since Tesha might be feeling cold. Coco says that her cloak makes her feel invisible, like no one can see her fear through it, which makes her look like a brave and strong witch. She thinks Tesha deserves it more than her, since at least Tesha is more useful than her. Hearing that, Tesha gets teary-eyed and casts a spell that makes lots of fluffy clouds burst out from under her, and the two of them get swallowed inside the soft ball of fuzz. Inside, Tesha says sorry for giving Coco the look as if it were her fault, and while Coco says she does not mind, Tesha still feels guilty for pushing her fear onto her. As her senior, she has more experience, and she feels she should be the one protecting her instead. That makes Coco tear up, too. So she assures Tesha she feels super safe inside her warm and fluffy cloud. Tesha laughs and says it is her original magic that she made to make her wish of sleeping on a cloud come true, and her dream is that everyone can enjoy it someday. With that, she tells Coco to wear her novice cloak until they both get back safely, and they can fulfill their dreams together. After that, the two giggling girls get interrupted by Agat, who criticizes the quality of Tesha's fluff, saying it has a long way to go. And Riche quickly jumps in too because it is really warm and soft compared to the cold outside. Then she brings them back to reality and asks how they are going to escape this place since there doesn't seem to be any exit in this endless world. She explains that even taboo magic must have a casting seal, so they need to find it somehow. Right then, Coco says she might know where it is and shows the others the strange seal she saw on the tall tower. That is one step forward. But Agat realizes they still have to defeat the dragon protecting it before they can even reach it. She plans to use her fire magic, but Coco shyly tries to explain and ends up offending Agat when she says her fire did almost nothing before. It only slowed the dragon down for a short moment. So Agat asks if she has a better idea, and Coco's brilliant plan is to not attack the dragon at all. Furious, Agat asks if she is messing with her out of spite, but Coco quickly swears she is serious and says she got inspired by both her and Tesha's magic, and she thinks it might work even if she is not fully confident yet. Later on, she draws her genius plan on the wall, which is to make the dragon fall asleep on a cloud just like Tesha's dream spell. Agat looks confused at the weird idea. So Coco explains that even a dragon would want to rest on a warm and snuggly cloud bed instead of chasing them around in this cold and empty place. Agat still doubts her plan, but Riche confidently says no living creature can resist the comfort of a warm and snuggly bed. After that, while Agat tries to process this logic, Coco says she wants to check on the dragon since the poor thing slammed its face nose first into a wall earlier, and that probably hurt a lot. In the middle of drawing her own plan, Agat pauses and gets caught off guard by Coco's innocent speech about how her plan is to make sure both them and the dragon stay unhurt. She quotes Master Qifrey's wisdom that real magic is the kind of magic that brings happiness to others. Then, Tesha says they've got this since they have a genius like Agat on their side, and her drawing skills can make even impossible ideas work somehow. After getting buttered up like that, Agat shyly agrees to go along with their plan, and the girls begin their little strategy meeting together. Together, they think hard to figure out a way to create a fluffy base that can float like clouds but still support a massive dragon's heavy weight. The bird brain suggests tearing up their notebooks, but those are clearly too small, while Coco and Richie suggest using their cloaks or even their hair without thinking that would leave them cold and bald. Just then, Agat comes up with a smarter idea and says they can make clouds out of sand from the broken walls with very small and fine magic seals. Richie immediately gets to work making those tiny magic seals, while Tesha is tasked with finding a spell that can gather the dust efficiently. Hearing that, Coco eagerly asks what she can do, but Agat coldly replies that her idea was good, but she still cannot be trusted with anything important right now. Later, Coco is amazed when she looks through one of Agat's scrap pages and starts wondering how her magic circles are so precise. So she quietly sneaks closer and notices that Agat draws in the air first before putting it down on paper. Then she observes that Tesha and Richie also use the same method, and she realizes her go with the flow method will not get her anywhere. So she begins practicing air drawing over and over until it gets dark and the dragon wakes up. Tesha notices the cold getting worse and asks if they should start a fire, but they are short on paper, and it is hard to keep a flame going in this place. Suddenly, a warm glow appears from Coco, who is shocked herself that she managed to succeed for once. While Agat questions why Coco is casting a fire spell when they do not even need it, Tesha gets excited, pointing out just how perfect it looks. The two quickly rush over to Coco and ask how she managed to make it so well. Coco explains that after watching everyone else draw their circles, she kept practicing again and again until she got the hang of it. At first, Agat responds with a cold remark, saying that anyone can achieve results with enough repetition, but that very thought suddenly clicks in her mind. She realizes that what they have been missing this whole time is consistent repetition. The four girls immediately spring into action, running as if their lives depend on it. As they move, they notice that the dragon has grown even larger, which only makes it more urgent for them to finish quickly. Agat tells Richie to take the lead, and the others follow the plan without hesitation. They split into two teams and began drawing magic circles on the ground at different spots, finishing almost at the same time. Coco and Tesha signal each other with their hats, and in perfect sync, they close their circles together. The ground beneath them cracks open as the magic activates. Without stopping, they rush to the next positions, completing the pre-drawn circles one after another. The sheer number of spells being triggered finally catches the dragon's attention as it turns to see what is happening. As the story shifts back to the present, their plan starts working just as intended, and the setup begins to take effect. The dragon appears to enjoy the soft cushion customized just for him and drops onto it comfortably. The team jokingly comes up with the name Dragon Disabler Cushion for their newly created spell, but Agat reminds everyone that they are still trapped inside and must act quickly before they lose their only opportunity to escape. Tesha pauses for a brief moment, and when Coco asks what she is looking at, the princess softly comments on how happy the dragon looks, saying that this might actually be the first time she has managed to make someone happy using her spell. Soon after that, all four of them move together, climb up the stairs, and finally arrive right in front of the sealed barrier. Meanwhile, Master Qifrey reaches the place where his pupils were originally teleported from and slowly scans the area, looking for any trace of what happened. Tarta casually sweeps the floor dust with his foot, which suddenly gives Qifrey an idea. He recalls how brush buddies are naturally drawn to the smell of conjuring ink and quickly inspects a nearby slab. Just then, a purplish ball moves toward them, and they get caught inside a teleportation spell. Meanwhile, the girls have already carelessly broken the seal, and now find themselves struggling as the entire place begins collapsing around them. As they look upward, a hole opens toward the real world, which makes them wonder if it is a possible escape route. While Coco is distracted by excitement, the dragon suddenly attacks her with a tail whip, but Agat pushes her away at the last moment and saves her. However, Agat loses her balance and trips down, and as she falls, she realizes she is not even wearing her silk shoes. As she drops, the dragon moves in to swallow her. But Master Qifrey catches her just before it happens, and tells her to hold on to him since he needs his hands free. He then casts an extremely powerful water dragon spell. When the dragon sees the massive water dragon coming at him, he immediately tries to escape, but given the size difference, he has no chance and gets caught in it and loses consciousness. Qifrey and Agat regroup with the princesses and look around, only to realize Coco is nowhere to be seen. Meanwhile, Coco is already under a spell cast by Egwin from the Brimmed Core and remains unconscious as the villain speaks about how long he has waited for the seeds he planted. It appears that this life and death scenario was actually a mission assigned by him to train her in real-life situations and massively boost her growth. He gives her a gift of some sort, which is unclear, and then adds that he is going to teach her something that Qifrey cannot, before he disappears and leaves her on the stairs. When Coco opens her eyes, she immediately calls out Agat's name and sees that she is safe. She feels relieved after realizing that everyone has survived. She also learns that they are all back in Callan. Qifrey is also relieved that she is safe, but he still worriedly asks her if the Brimmed Caps did something to her. Coco cannot remember anything, so she only says she feels a bit zoned out. She suddenly breaks into tears when she notices everyone's clothes are dirty, blaming herself for everything that happened, and keeps apologizing for getting them mixed up in it. Master Qifrey quickly lifts her spirit by praising how her idea ended up saving them all today. He tells her that they will focus on developing and nurturing that talent further. After cheering her up and as Qifrey gets up, Grandpa Nonoa appears and suggests that they should get a room at the inn since it has already gotten late. Qifrey then requests a serious favor from him, pointing out that there is a casting seal on the rubble and asking him to find out what is inside the ink. He also tells him not to report this to the Knights Morales. Nonoa initially dismisses the request, stating that they are obligated to report sightings of forbidden magic. But when Qifrey gives him a sharp and intense stare, he ultimately has no choice but to keep his mouth shut. The next morning, Agat and Coco are practicing how to draw their spells with focus. As Agat is about to draw a circle, Coco lets out a strange noise that ends up ruining her drawing. Agat sighs, quietly gathers her things, and leaves the room. This makes Coco worry that she might have been too loud and distracting. Agat then climbs up to a cliff edge and there she tests out her newly created spell. However, she finds the result disappointing since the light it produces is still weak and unstable. This leaves her feeling down, until a four-winged bird circling around her light catches her attention for a moment before flying away. Meanwhile, Coco continues practicing her drawings, but no matter how hard she tries, the lines keep turning out wobbly each time. It seems that their trip to Calhan was pointless since she could not find any pen that suited her properly. She lies down and starts thinking about how smoothly she can draw with her pigment stone. But the issue is that the stone is far too large for the small paper used to cast spells. She begins to feel discouraged and starts overthinking, recalling how useless she felt when they were trapped by the Brimmed Core since she could not cast even a single spell. However, she stops herself from going deeper into those thoughts and pushes herself back up, determined to improve through repetition. Just as she picks up her pen and prepares to draw again, a sudden wave of sleep hits her, and she nearly dozes off, only to find herself leaning toward her master, who was already sitting there. Luckily, he catches her right before she could fall. Qifrey points out to the girl that she might catch a cold if she falls asleep there, but Coco immediately startles and jumps up, insisting that she was not sleeping at all. She then shares her concern about how slow her progress feels and worries that she might never be able to complete the test at the Tower of Tomes. However, she quickly pulls herself together in an effort to stay positive and loudly declares that she loves magic and will master it no matter what. Master Qifrey decides to distract her with something more fun and takes her to the kitchen. There, he brings out a pot and says that he wants to free one of them. He opens it and asks Coco to taste the soup inside. Coco takes a spoon, gently blows on it to cool it down, and then tries it. She enjoys the flavor at first, but suddenly feels disgusted when Qifrey tells her that the soup is actually 2 years old and has been kept fresh by a magic cookpot. He then shows her the spell drawn on the pot and explains that it needs to be redrawn regularly to prevent it from wearing out. After that, he hands her some carapace yams and asks if she can bake one for him, reminding her to use the Pyroball spell she recently learned. Coco gets excited and starts working on it. Her first attempt seems to be going well, but she soon realizes that the yams are too heavy. which means she needs to extend the levitation sign further. The next few attempts go badly as she ends up burning several yams, but after repeated tries, she finally manages to create a properly working spell. Coco looks pleased as her spell finally works, and she pulls the hot yam from the fire at just the right time. Master Qifrey does the honors and cuts open her perfectly roasted yam, and then asks if she still feels sleepy after doing something so cool. Then, he shares that his first and strongest magic is water magic, and he shyly admits he never liked getting wet or swimming, so he trained that magic more than anything else. That way, he would not have to wash anything with his hands like a normal person. His simple lesson to her is to add anything new she really wants to learn into her daily life, since life is the best teacher. Coco looks both amazed and confused by his wise words, so he tells her she can start by adding magic to her daily cooking practice since it is fun and tasty. Just then, Tesha and Richie sneak into the kitchen, drawn in by the delicious aroma, and Tesha eagerly offers to melt the cheese with her fire. But Master Qifrey reminds them that it is Coco's training day, so she will handle the magic herself. Hearing that, she gets excited, and the girls work together with Master Qifrey to cut the meat, melt the cheese, and make the ultimate Big Mac. The girls are ready to dig in, but Coco suggests they take it outside. So Master Qifrey decides to turn it into a picnic. Coco invites Agat to come along, but she says she wants to keep practicing while she eats, and it seems something else is bothering her. A few moments later, it starts raining, and the girls feel disappointed that they cannot go outside, especially since Master Qifrey hates getting wet. But he asks why they look so gloomy, then steps outside with a cheeky smile as a magic bubble forms around him and blocks every single drop of rain. With that, they walk out to the fresh green scenery and set up their picnic under a bridge, where the girls dig into those juicy burgers. Even Brush Buddy snacks on small bites, and before they notice, the rain clouds slowly clear away, and a bright rainbow shines through the sky. Seeing that, Coco excitedly jumps up and says she wants Agat to see the beautiful magic of the sky with everyone else. Then she runs as fast as she can back to the atelier and eagerly swings the door open while calling out Agat's name. But her bright smile quickly fades into confusion when a tall, serious-looking gentleman steps out instead. He has never seen her before, either, so he asks if she is a messenger from Alara. Just then, Master Qifrey comes rushing to tell her a storm is coming. She quickly hides behind his robe and proudly declares she is his apprentice. The man immediately gets annoyed at Qifrey for taking in another apprentice again, but Qifrey casually greets Olrugio like it's no big deal at all. Then, when Qifrey explains he had to take her in because she is a victim of forbidden magic, Olrugio firmly grabs her by the arm and makes it clear he plans to hand her over to the Knights Morales without hesitation. Left with no easy choice, Master Qifrey quickly draws a spell and raises a water barrier, saying their friendship does not mean he will just stand there and let him take Coco away. The fact that he would actually use magic against a friend makes Olrugio pause and wonder what makes this girl so special to him. So Master Qifrey suggests they go inside and calmly talk it out. Meanwhile, Tesha and Richie sit inside drying their soaked hair after getting completely drenched in the storm. Meanwhile, Olrugio learns everything about Coco, and he is not pleased that Qifrey made an exception to take in an outsider like her. But Master Qifrey corrects him that the outsider's name is Coco, and he introduces Olrugio as the watchful eye of the atelier. Qifrey explains that, unlike the Great Hall, small ateliers like his tend to develop hidden problems and can easily become isolated, so to prevent them from hiding or covering up issues, a watchful eye is assigned to stay with them and keep everything in check. Olrugio appears clearly fed up, since right now Qifrey is the one covering up a problem while he was away. Qifrey argues that if he had erased Coco's memories that night, they would have lost their only lead to the forbidden magic picture book, and he also believes there is a chance he could somehow bring her mother back to life. Olrugio puts down his pot with a slight hint of anger and argues that investigating forbidden magic is the responsibility of the Knights Morales, and they should not get involved in such matters. Qifrey then finally explains to the girl about the knights he has been mentioning. He tells her that the Knights Morales are the order of moral spellcasting, essentially the witch guardians of magic itself, who enforce the codes of conduct established on the day of the pact. He adds that these people erase the memories of anyone who meddles with forbidden magic or comes into contact with its secrets. He explains that if he had handed her over to them, they would have completely erased her love for magic from its roots. Qifrey then places his hands on the girl's shoulders and tries to lift her spirit by reminding her how hardworking she truly is. He calls it his own fault that she ended up discovering the secrets of magic, and says that if the knights were to erase her memories, then he would make sure they erase his as well. Hearing this, Olrugio gets visibly startled. He does not seem pleased that his friend has once again taken in an apprentice, especially after everything he went through to secure the 3 he already has, and he heads upstairs while saying that he will report the matter to the Great Hall if things get out of hand. Qifrey then takes the girl's hand and helps her stand, telling her to be proud since she has passed the test through her own ability and has officially become his apprentice. After that, they go to take a bath, but before she can properly dry herself, Coco goes off to look for Brushbuddy, who seems to have gone missing. She eventually finds him, but gets worried when she sees him heading toward Olrugio's place. She follows him to his room, but before she can knock, she notices a sign that warns anyone who knocks will be cursed. Feeling uneasy, she decides to peek inside instead, hoping to find Brushbuddy safely. Just as she accidentally sneezes, the intimidating Olrugio suddenly appears from where he was sitting, already holding Brushbuddy. He tells her that the sign outside was meant to keep everyone away, which makes the girl quickly apologize as he hands Brushbuddy back to her. When Coco notices that Brushbuddy is completely dried out, Olrugio uses his magic to dry her as well. She thanks him. After that, the humble mage admits he is at fault for not closing the door properly and bluntly tells her to get out now. But Coco suddenly bursts with excitement when she recognizes the spell called Glowstone Path that made her fall in love with magic. Olrugio shares that it is his original creation, and he even reveals the simple trick behind how the spell works. He shrugs it off like it is nothing special, but he feels mildly disturbed watching the cute little worm wriggle on the floor over his glowing stones. Coco tells him that the soft, warm light means a lot to her because every step she took on it filled her with joy, and his spell is what gave her a dream to chase. Then, with a bright and innocent smile, she calls him Master Olrugio and thanks him, which embarrasses the serious old man so badly that he immediately throws her straight out of his room. The next day, Coco invites Agot to study with her in the living room since it is still raining outside, but Agot shuts her offer down like usual, saying her focus is better here. A few moments later, the rain hits the window so hard that she keeps messing up her spells, and it frustrates her that it is so noisy. Still, she closes her eyes and takes it as a challenge to draw through the noise, which makes her spell a little wobbly, but it stays stable enough that she can master it by the next trial. Right as she thinks about giving it another try, she hears a loud ruckus downstairs and angrily asks what the fuss is about. At the door, Master Qifrey is speaking to a man asking for his help, and Tesha brings her up to speed that the bridge over the river collapsed, so the man's carriage is stuck inside and his passengers' lives are in danger. Suddenly, the man yells at Qifrey to hurry because his son is also inside. Agot gets excited at the chance to do a real mission, so she demands that she wants to go when Master Qifrey says he will bring one more witch with him. Agot firmly promises that he will be useful this time. Soon after that, Agot is seen riding on a horse alongside Master Olrugio, who tells her to hold on tightly as they carefully travel toward a bridge near a massive towering tree. Earlier, when Agot was begging to join the mission, Master Qifrey kept arguing with her that this would be nothing like the simple lessons she was used to. He explained that there would be many ordinary non-witch people around, and since Agot had still not passed the second test, she was not allowed to publicly cast spells in front of others. However, none of his reasoning manages to stop her. Agot even slaps away his hand and passionately tells him just how much she has been practicing by herself lately. She insists that she deserves a real opportunity to learn from actual experiences instead of staying sheltered all the time. While Qifrey remains stuck in hesitation and unable to decide, Olrugio suddenly steps in and calmly says that he will personally take the girl along with him. Hearing that, Agot immediately rushes off to grab her cloak and hat. The princesses and Coco quickly follow after her, as they also start asking to come along on the trip. While Master Qifrey still looks worried, Olrugio reminds him that there are certain things a person can only truly learn through real experiences. Qifrey then opens up about his real concern and explains that Agot tends to focus more on what she fails to accomplish instead of appreciating the things she already achieved. He fears that one day she may end up taking the wrong path while he is not there beside her to protect her. Back in the present, they finally arrive at the riverside where the bridge has collapsed. The moment the people notice the witches have arrived, They immediately grow excited and hopeful that they will be saved now. Olrugio hands Agot a few rings and tells her to help the people dry their soaked clothes with them. However, Agot gets annoyed and asks if he only plans to make her handle small errands instead of letting her do something more useful. Olrugio tells her to stop treating support tasks like they are meaningless and says he can now fully understand why Master Qifrey worries about her so much. He calls her impatient and tells her that her chance will come later. Hearing those words only makes Agot more frustrated as she feels like everyone keeps treating her like some ignorant child. Wanting to prove her worth, she immediately starts thinking of a way to show what she can do. Meanwhile, Olrugio climbs down toward the carriage that had fallen into the river and gives a signal to Qifrey. Master Qifrey quickly jumps forward with his magic sword and parts the river with a spell. The people nearby are left stunned after seeing such an incredible display of magic. As the crowd starts leaning closer to watch, Tesha quickly warns them to stay back at a safe distance. Olrugio grabs one of the trapped people from inside the carriage and jumps away, while Qifrey barely manages to hold back the strong current. As he continues struggling with the water, he mutters to himself that this is exactly why he hates water magic. Just then, Olrugio signals him again, and together the two finally succeed in completing the rescue mission. Master Qifrey breathes a sigh of relief, and Olrugio high-fives on successfully saving the whole crew. As soon as he lands, the merchant Dagda is relieved to see Custas alive and assures the kid that it is no problem, even if he failed to protect the cargo. After that, he deeply thanks Master Qifrey, who tells the travelers to see his apprentices since they have medicine to help treat everyone's injuries. When he points him toward the girls, they are not there because they are busy losing their minds over his sword with a swirling torrent of water. He introduces them to his sword Rain Cleaver, which has magic seals engraved all across the blade in a special pattern. Qifrey gives them a lesson that lots of tiny seals can have the combined power to split an entire river, which gets Tesha so hyped she wants to hold it too. But he quickly puts it away as magic cast on weapons is very dangerous, and the girls are nowhere near ready for that. Right then, Olrugio tells Qifrey he will investigate upstream with Riche, while Qifrey decides to search downstream with Tesha instead. The masters tell Coco and Agot to hold the fort while they are gone, which Coco is more than happy to do, but Agot is annoyed that she cannot tag along. While Coco gives first aid to the injured people, she feels guilty that she still hasn't repaired the seal on Agot's silk shoes she borrowed before. The other survivors are disappointed that their cargo got swept away in the river, and Coco walks over to Dagda, who screams for Custas to come back immediately. Soon, she spots the little idiot climbing down the rocks because the brat thinks he can simply grab his stuff and come back safe. But just as the kid grabs his belongings, the tree he tied his rope to tips over the edge and triggers a landslide that crushes everything below it. Dagda gets hit so hard by the shock that he almost walks straight off the cliff himself. When the dust finally clears, Agot is horrified to see a witch's hat and immediately thinks Coco got buried under the rubble too. But Coco is still hanging on and points them toward where Custas fell. The boy does not respond to Dagda at all, so the desperate father believes his son can still be saved with a witch's magic and throws all his hopes onto Agot. Agot is thrilled that the masters are not there, and without her sylph shoes, she cannot reach them in time either. So this is her chance to prove herself by saving Coco in a real emergency. Suddenly, all the travelers crowd around her and pile on pressure, which brings back awful memories of grown-ups who called her drawings average for a talented girl like her. But the voice that haunts her most belongs to the lady who was very disappointed and refused to make Agot her apprentice, since her clan has no place for talentless failures. Agot breaks down in confusion over why her old trauma is hitting her at a time like this. But Coco's voice snaps her out of it as she asks what she can possibly do to help save Custas from below. Her words remind Agot of what Olrugio once said about remembering the reason she learned magic in the first place if she truly wants to help people. She asks Coco if she is alright and tells her to explain the whole situation quickly. Coco looks around and tells her that the current is slower where she is, so she is sure she will not get swept away. However, the mud is making it impossible for her to climb back up. She also explains that Custas is pinned beneath a huge rock, which even a grown adult would struggle to move. Agot glances behind herself and notices all the eyes watching her. Since she cannot allow non-witches to see spell drawing, she struggles to think of what she can possibly do. Somewhere else, the Knights Morales are informed about the incident and immediately begin heading there to inspect the situation. Back at the riverside, Agathe sees that Coco still refuses to give up and is somehow continuing to climb upward. Coco desperately thinks of a way to use magic before suddenly getting an idea and asking Agathe if she still has the link rings Olrugio gave her. Agathe quickly ties the rings to a broken tree branch to give them weight and throws them toward Coco. Our girl hurriedly uses them to dry her paper, so she can attempt to use the spell she recently learned to levitate the rock. Agathe, however, doubts that Coco can pull it off since she would have to hide her hands beneath her long coat and draw entirely through muscle memory. Therefore, to make things easier for Coco, Agathe pulls everyone's attention toward herself by introducing herself as Master Qifrey's top apprentice before putting a beautiful spell on display. Her glowing light spell is dazzling enough to distract the crowd, and during that moment, Agathe secretly gives Coco the signal. Coco quickly attempts her spell. However, it immediately fails because the palm choir paper is far too small for such a massive rock. Just then, Custis regains consciousness and weakly asks Coco who she is. Coco quickly explains the situation and tells him everything that has happened, and when she mentions that the flying golden bird is her friend's magic, it suddenly gives him an idea. On the other side, Agathe's distraction does not last very long as the people begin asking her to make the bird do something useful instead of simply flying around. They demand that she save Custis instead. Dagda gets frustrated as well and is about to head down there himself. Agathe immediately worries that he might catch Coco drawing her spell. But before that can happen, Coco and Custis are suddenly seen levitating upward. Coco hurriedly tells everyone to pull them in, and both she and Custis are safely rescued while the golden bird disappears into the air. Agathe walks toward Coco in confusion, but the girl instantly jumps forward and tightly hugs her while crying about how happy she is that the spell actually worked. She keeps complaining about how terrified she was the entire time. Agathe gently pulls her back a little and asks what exactly she did to rise up like that, while noticing grains of sand stuck on her. Coco reminds her about the time they were saved by her friend's rock-breaker seal, and Agathe also remembers that spell, which safely turns stone into sand without hurting anyone nearby. Coco happily says her friend's spell saved her life back then, and admits she only remembered it because Agathe's magic reminded her of it. Agathe struggles to deal with the compliment and fires back that the magic bird was only a signal for their masters, and she does not consider them friends. But Agathe goes quiet when she sees how happy Coco is that they managed to save the boy together, and she genuinely respects her after Coco states she will save her mother the same way one day. At that moment, a white sash of magic restraints suddenly flies toward them, instantly ties the girls together, and lifts them high into the air. While Coco is clueless, Agathe immediately recognizes the silver-white pennant and crimson-red cloak with the feathered hat that is the symbol of the Knights Morales. The head knight demands to know which one of them cast magic with a cold stare, making it clear he will not go easy on them just because they are little girls. He orders the apprentices to reveal which one of them is working with the Brimmed Caps. Coco stays frozen in shock, but Agathe immediately speaks up that they are not part of the Brimmed Caps, and they did not use any forbidden magic to save the travelers. Hearing that, the knight coldly orders them to look at what they have done. Coco is left speechless after seeing the entire riverbed transformed into sand while the water itself turns into steam. Coco insists she never used magic that would do something like that. But when the knight realizes she was the one responsible, he claims it is impossible for a mere apprentice to demonstrate such power without forbidden magic. With that, the self-righteous knight uses his authority to sentence her to the punishment of eternal oblivion. The knight assures Coco she does not need to be scared since she will forget everything about magic along with the terrifying punishment, and she will simply return to being an outsider like before. But just before the ink tentacles touch Coco, Riche flies down like a rocket and slaps the knight's hand away while fireballs burn through the white cloth. Agathe and Coco fall straight onto a plushy soft bed created by Tesha, who angrily yells at the arrogant grown men who cannot even bother listening first. When the knight's subordinate points out that the girls dared to burn their flag, Riche lands beside her friends and says she hates grown-ups who treat kids like they are a different species. But the knight still does not budge and claims rules were broken, and peace can only exist when every witch follows the law. He states there can be no exceptions even for children because that would destroy law and order itself. Right then, he sees a sword suddenly aimed at his neck as Master Qifrey warns Aesthis to keep his self-righteous hands off his apprentice. Aesthis says it is no surprise the kids are as stubborn as their master. But Qifrey smiles and says he is not a fan of becoming a Mr. Perfect like him, especially one who thinks bullying children is part of his job as a knight. Before his subordinate can fire back at the insult, Aesthis stops him and says he is merely maintaining the law. While magic powerful enough to transform terrain like the data range is obviously war magic from the day of the pact, he claims there must naturally be punishment for using war magic in the current era. But Qifrey firmly argues it is still wrong to wipe someone's memories before even hearing them out. He also points out that he never taught his students magic capable of something this powerful. Hearing that, Aesthis immediately blames the Brimmed Caps for possibly being involved, which leaves Master Qifrey speechless for a moment. Just then, Olrugio calls the two floating blockheads out for forgetting that a witch's job is to bring blessings to people, something the apprentices are apparently doing way better than them right now. After that, the knights begin helping the injured travelers, and a lady knight tells Dagda she stopped his son's bleeding, but still needs to take him to a doctor in Khan for proper treatment. The desperate man grabs her arm and begs her to heal his son, the same way she repaired the flag with magic, but she coldly replies that it is impossible and shakes him off. After the carriage leaves, the knights seal off the entire area and warn the girls they will conduct a full investigation once they return. Later, Aesthis makes Coco redraw the spell she used, which confirms her magic is as basic as it gets. But the paranoid knight suddenly grabs her arms and claims members of the Brimmed Caps often carve seals into their bodies to use forbidden magic like amplification spells. Yet all he finds are calloused hands stained with ink from countless hours of practice. So he informs them the report will be sent to the Great Hall, which will decide her punishment if she is the one responsible. Then, Aesthis warns them to be more careful from now on before flying away. Master Qifrey finally breathes a sigh of relief that everything somehow worked out and apologizes to his students for leaving them alone earlier. With that said, he makes Coco and Agat realize just how serious the situation really was and how all of their memories would have been erased if someone discovered the secret behind magic. Coco and Agat promise to be more careful in the future, while Agat gets annoyed that she completely bombed her exam. But Master Qifrey acknowledges the effort she put in and says he will request a second exam for her. She instantly cheers up after he says she can officially become his partner once she passes it, though she must promise not to use magic in public till then. Seeing that, Tesha gets jealous and complains he is giving Agat special treatment. But Qifrey instantly humbles the little witch, reminding her she still hasn't completed redrawing the basic magic textbook. Riche openly says she does not want to take the exam, while Coco just learned there was a second test in the first place. With that said, Olrugio asks Qifrey if he is not rushing things too much with his students, but Qifrey replies that he feels like trusting them is the right thing to do. Right then, Agat excitedly walks over and says she wants to hurry back and continue practicing, but he reminds her they still have one last thing left to handle first. Shifting to the Knights Morales, one of Aesthis' subordinates mentions the rumors surrounding Qifrey's apprentice. But when the knight asks if there is actual proof the rumors are true, the man goes quiet since no evidence was found at Coco's frozen house. So Aesthis suggests they simply force her to confess and mentions the sand magic dried up the river itself. He claims ruining a beautiful natural river is only the beginning, and she must be stopped before things get worse. At the same time, Coco gets starry-eyed after seeing Olrugio's super special wand that can carve seals into wood and stone, which lets him temporarily repair the broken bridge. Soon, the river water begins flowing again, and Qifrey happens to find Coco's hat and conjuring ink nearby. She sincerely apologizes, but then gets shocked after realizing barely any ink was used at all, making her wonder if she unlocked the infinite ink glitch. Concerned, Master Qifrey carefully examines the ink vial and his eyes suddenly widen in shock. Meanwhile, on a dark sandy beach, one of the Brimmed Caps lunatics rambles to himself about how magic is just a facade that paints over the world, while the pretty hands creating it eventually end up stained with ink. Then, the nutcase slices open his own hand, mixes blood into the ink, and he is thrilled, wondering how long the witches can keep up the lie of magic. Back at the sandy river, Master Qifrey asks Coco if she truly got the ink from Master Nolnoa, but something about it clearly worries him deeply. Because of that, he asks Olrugio to take the girls back to the Atelier first. Hearing that, Olrugio questions where he plans to go, So Qifrey smiles and says he forgot to buy Coco a new wand, and they will stop by Con since it is nearby. But after that, he quietly apologizes in Coco's ear for lying because he absolutely needs to confirm something. Later, the two arrive in Con where Coco is shocked to see the door completely vanished, and Qifrey thinks that the shop might be closed. Right then, Tarda arrives with perfect timing and places a magic knob on the wall, which magically opens a door to the shop. Coco notices the inside looks completely different, to which Tarda explains that every magic doorknob leads to a different room. Before Coco follows Qifrey to meet Master Nolnoa, he stops her to ask for her name and tells her she should get the cut on her foot treated first. Luckily, he already has the herbs needed to patch her up, so he leads her into a lab packed with amazing tools and dye powders she has never seen before. While Tarda tells her about the special dyes that can change the effects of magic ink, Master Nolnoa reminds Qifrey that his shop is closed for the day. However, the old master laughs and admits he was only joking, then says he investigated the alley tiles with ancient magic seals but failed to separate the dye components no matter what he tried because they are blended together stunningly well. When he asks if Qifrey has anything else on his mind, Qifrey takes out Coco's ink vial, which catches the master's eye, so he examines it under his microscope. Master Nolnoa discovers it has the exact same blue tint as the ink on the alley tiles, so the old man shockingly asks where he found it, especially since it is a vial from his own shop. That confirms Qifrey's suspicion that the Brimmed Caps tampered with her ink the day they were teleported. Suddenly, he snatches the ink bottle from the old man along with a sheet of paper and quickly draws a spell while knowing literally anything could happen. Meanwhile, downstairs, Coco asks Tarda about the blue dye hanging above them, to which he explains it is azure moon flower powder that makes magic last longer. Then she asks him about the butterfly scale powder that turns ink transparent to hide magic seals. He finishes wrapping her bandages while explaining the other powders too, and Coco starts bouncing around completely hyped over how insanely cool it is that he remembers every single dye perfectly. She feels jealous that he lives inside a magic supply shop because she gets ridiculously excited just looking at the walls lined with magical stuff everywhere. Tarda looks very bored and says the atelier is way more fun, and she is a weirdo for not realizing that. Coco curiously asks him if he is not an apprentice like her, to which the frustrated boy goes quiet. Then she asks him about a red powder the shorty cannot seem to find, so she climbs the ladder to get closer, but he still cannot spot the obvious pot. Just then, a bright flash suddenly bursts through the shop and trips Coco, causing all the jars to come crashing down. She is relieved to see none of the bottles broke, but Tarda looks horrified like the world just ended because the labels fell off. He says his grandpa made him promise not to mess with them. Hearing that, Coco offers to help him and asks him to tell her the names, but Tarda snaps at her in frustration that he does not know a single thing. After he calms down, he admits he only memorized the positions of the powders and cannot tell them apart just by color alone. He tells Coco to just head home because some people are naturally good at certain things while others suck at them. Just like him and his silver-washed eyes. They are the reason he can never become a witch. Meanwhile, on the third floor, Master Nolnoa shakes Qifrey awake, and he rises with a brutal headache. The overwhelming power from his tiny seal confirms his suspicion that there is a twin bottle spell placed on Coco's vial, which allows two separate vials to share the same contents. He believes Coco's vial probably has a hidden seal inside it, and somebody else has been filling it with mysterious ink this entire time. With intense emotions written across his face, he is relieved he finally found a connection to the Brimmed Caps. However, Master Nolnoa is deeply alarmed that an ink capable of creating so much power from one tiny roughly drawn seal should not even exist. The old man panics and says they must report something this dangerous to the Great Hall immediately. But Qifrey angrily yells that they absolutely cannot hand it over to the Knights Morales because something like this is better left undiscovered forever. Hearing that, Master Nolnoa steps back in complete shock at his unhinged rambling and asks what exactly he plans to do with such dangerous ink. Qifrey simply places Coco's vial on the ground and quietly apologizes to the old man instead. Later, Coco sits outside when Master Qifrey finally returns and tells her that Master Nolnoa accidentally gave her a very special vial, so he gives her a bag to make up for the trouble. Coco instantly loves the accessory, but when she looks back toward the shop, she asks him about Tarda's silver-washed eyes. Qifrey explains it is a disease that makes everything appear dull and silver, and since witches rely heavily on sharp eyesight, the Great Hall does not make exceptions for apprentices with this condition. Coco looks worried after hearing that, so he lifts her up and tells her she has absolutely nothing to worry about because he will do everything to protect his dear student. Back inside the stationer's shop, Tarda tells his grandpa that the huge mess happened because he got startled by the bright flash earlier. However, when he asks if the flash came from Master Qifrey's spell, the old man turns around completely confused and says he does not remember any bright flash happening at all. Later on, he sees his grandpa acting completely normal with a customer. So he starts thinking there must be a reason the old man is staying quiet about everything. Or maybe Master Qifrey is behind it. Back at the atelier, Coco and the girls panic after she accidentally crashes a small tree straight into their sensei's back. Coco keeps apologizing because her wind grasper seal was so huge it grabbed an entire tree instead of one apple. Her first seal was too tiny, and the second one was way too massive. So Tesha suggests adding a pulling sign so the wind twists the apple and makes it easier to yank off the tree. Hearing that, Master Qifrey praises her creative idea. Tesha gets super proud, so she starts giving a genuinely solid lecture about learning from her mistakes and not repeating bad habits, which impresses him enough to nickname her Master Tesha. That makes Tesha bounce around happily like she just unlocked an achievement. But her glorious moment is interrupted by Agat, who perfectly pulls an apple while telling her to quit wasting time on others and focus on improving herself. After that, Coco and Tesha gang up to fix Agat's gloomy mood with a Tesha attack. During lunch break, Coco asks about the other tests witches have to take, which Riche clearly cannot stand. Master Qifrey explains that the 5 tests are challenges meant to teach witches about themselves, and the witches of old did not want to torture apprentices with miserable tests nobody wants to do. So they created 5 trials beginning with the consent of the crown in the data range to become an apprentice. Then comes the 2nd test of shield, the 3rd test of query, the 4th goodwill of her grace, and lastly the words of the wise to become a master, which together form the pentagon of proof. A witch can enter the Tower of Tomes after passing the 3rd test, and becomes fully independent after the 4th, while the final test is only for witches who wish to raise an apprentice. Meanwhile, Tesha keeps yapping about how her dream is to travel across the continent, helping people so they can thank her. Their happiness makes her happy too, so she explains true joy comes in pairs, just like her 2 pigtails, and that is also why she wants a twin peaked hat. Coco never realized the lore behind her pigtails was that deep, and Master Qifrey explains that independent witches are allowed to choose their own hat designs. However, Riche suddenly gets up and walks away because she hates tests that force her to draw seals she has zero interest in, but Agat criticizes her, saying she will never learn anything if she only draws what she likes. After a heavy silence, Riche says she is perfectly fine staying a kid if growing up means doing a bunch of garbage she hates. On the other hand, Agat declares she plans to speedrun every single test as fast as possible so she can achieve her dream of becoming a librarian at the Tower of Tomes. Coco is stunned by Agat's passion to learn, so Tesha explains her family descends from an apprentice of the 3 wise witches from House Arclown, which is full of geniuses who become librarians. After that, she asks Coco what kind of witch she dreams of becoming. So Coco says her goal is already set in stone. Right now, she wants to learn as many spells as possible, and she gets fired up to give Wind Grasper another try. That night, Coco finds herself trapped inside a pitch-black dream where she suddenly sees her mother. She tightly hugs her and apologizes, saying everything is her fault because she ignored her warning to stay away from magic and ruined everything. However, Coco's mother shoves her away, turns into ice, and repeats that normal people are not supposed to do magic. Soon, Coco starts hearing voices around her saying she never had any talent and that she is the only one to blame for turning her mother into ice. Terrified, she runs as fast as she can from the voices until she trips and suddenly lands inside a giant pot of ink. The Brimmed Caps which blames her for everything, saying it all happened because she wanted to play around with magic, and the destruction of the world is her fault. Just then, Coco wakes up from the nightmare and sits up in bed while Brushbuddy tries comforting her. Outside, Agat runs into Master Qifrey while heading out for extra practice, but he tells her not to overwork herself and get some rest. On her way back, she notices Coco is also awake, practicing because she thinks drawing more and more spells is the only way she can save her mother. Meanwhile, somewhere inside the atelier, Master Qifrey locks himself inside a stone tower. He was anxiously waiting for the day he could finally get his hands on some kind of connection to the Brimmed Caps. Long ago, healers who used magic to cure others came into conflict with the three wise witches' rule forbidding magic on the human body. The recipe for the twin bottle spell they used to share healing seals was stolen along with their memories. The ancient spell connects two bottles, no matter how far apart they are, and Qifrey finds it painfully ironic that a spell used for healing is now abused by the Brimmed Caps. He is desperate to reverse engineer the spell since it is his only lead to finding them. While he knows better than to use the dangerous ink itself, he plans to carefully remove the twin bottle seal metal hidden inside and put it inside the orb of guidance within it, which should lead him straight to the caster. Using a pair of tweezers, he slowly pulls the metal out, but just before it fully comes out, a violent lightning blast nearly cooks him alive. After the bottle falls down, the ink suddenly transforms into water and floods the stone room, swallowing Qifrey whole. He quickly realizes he screwed up since he cannot cast magic underwater, and another lightning strike from the metal knocks him out cold. Suddenly, all the water rushes back into the tiny bottle, and Qifrey barely survives. He watches the vial slowly stand up on its own, and looks up to see the eyeball-masked witch floating right above him. The witch crushes the bottle with his bare hand, and when Qifrey tries to grab him, the scumbag turns into mist and vanishes. Even so, Master Qifrey refuses to give up and swears he will keep chasing the truth. Meanwhile, the eyeball-masked witch sadly complains to himself that all the effort spent preparing Coco's vial ended up going to waste. At breakfast, Tesha notices both Master Wifey and Coco look like they got absolutely zero sleep last night. She jokes that they transformed into magical knights who fight evil until sunrise. But Agot takes it seriously and points out that Coco has been staying up late for several nights now. Coco claims she is in the zone at night, but Tesha drops some solid wisdom that overworking yourself is no good. While Riche adds that good magic needs good sleep and good food, Tesha then quotes Master Ollie's wise words that you end up paying for lost sleep once you get old. After that, Tesha gets up to make tea and asks Master Qifrey if he wants some too. Her voice suddenly snaps him out of his accidental beauty sleep, so he apologizes by offering to prepare the tea himself. However, the exhausted man instantly burns himself and breaks the teapot, which makes everyone wonder if he is even functioning anymore. Qifrey is still suffering from the lightning damage from last night and apologizes for wasting the last of their tea leaves. Soon, he heads outside to gather more herbs and tells the girls to continue practicing their primers. Once he leaves, Coco quietly pulls Agot aside to return her sylph boots. She apologizes for taking forever to redraw the seal properly and admits the weird seal probably makes flying awkward, so Agot is free to redraw it herself. At that moment, Agot finally confronts Coco for being suspiciously nice and asks why she never snitched to Master Qifrey after being forced into taking the first test before she was ready. Instead of complaining, Coco repaired her shoes and acted like nothing happened, which completely breaks Agot's brain trying to understand her logic. Hearing that, Coco admits she was scared out of her mind when Agot shoved her into the first test alone. But in the end, she was still the one who chose to face the challenge. She desperately wanted to prove she had the skill to overcome the trial using her own magic. However, Coco suddenly goes quiet after remembering flashes from her nightmare, and while Agot says she still cannot understand her at all, Coco suddenly collapses onto the floor. Meanwhile, in the garden, Master Qifrey chews on strange weeds that fix the numb feeling in his hands. He desperately hopes the girls never learn what happened because his entire career would be finished if the truth got out. He even asks Puff Puff to keep his secret, but the grumpy little guy gets annoyed because he likes Brush Buddy more. Right as he says that, Agot suddenly slams into him like a cannonball, and the two tumble straight down the hill together. She urgently tells him Coco is in critical condition, so he rushes back to the atelier where he places her onto a floating board to carry her to Calm. He leaves the girls in Aurugio's care and flies off at full speed because Coco's fever keeps getting worse every single second. Later in Calm, Tarta has to leave his friends behind because he needs to catch the ferry home. His buddies are confused why he does not just use magic to fly there, but the boy replies that there are rules he has to follow. With that, he sprints through town trying not to miss his ride when he suddenly bumps into Master, who desperately asks him for directions to the nearest hospital because his sense of direction is complete garbage. Tarta immediately leads him through a shortcut he knows, and once they arrive, Master Qifrey quickly hands Coco over to a healer, After he thanks the boy, he praises Tarta's sharp observation skills that only those with a sharp eye possess. Right then, Tarta gathers the courage to ask him something that has been eating at him the entire time.
I heard that you